the moderators letting it get completely out of control after framing everything from the left. I know they can't put trapdoors underneath those lecterns, but they can have a mute button and they can just hit the mute button. Everybody shut up. Everybody shut up. We're going to reset and start over again, and I'm going to unmute one person, and that person gets to talk, and that's it. I mean, that's what you needed to do to have anything useful come out of this, except for if you're a Democrat. Lots of useful stuff came out of that if you're a Democrat or you're working for Team Biden. Team Biden was the big winner last night because they have turned this country and the economy into a complete disaster, and it was never brought up.
The Republican primary debate on Fox and the far more viewed Donald Trump interview on Tucker's show on Twitter. So Donald Trump, as many surely know by now, declined going to the debate and instead pre-recorded an interview with Tucker Carlson. The interview was then scheduled to release promptly at 7:55, 5 minutes before the start time of the debate, which I thought was just hilarious. The debate, on the other hand, started at 8 o'clock our time and featured not Trump, but Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Nikki Haley, Mike Pence, Tim Scott, Doug Burnham, Asa Hutchinson, and Chris Christie. So, lightning round. Jim, I know you watched the debate. Did you watch the Trump interview?
I did not. I watched about 15 minutes or so of the Trump interview, and I fell asleep. So,
Justin, I know you watched. Well, you watched most of the debate. You said you didn't finish the whole thing. Did you watch the Trump interview?
No, I did not. Okay. I watched 30 seconds.
Lightning round, Chris. I know you watched the debate. You. I'm sure you watched it in full.
I did.
Okay, great.
I even watched some of the post-debate coverage.
Yeah, and I watched the post-debate.
And
you watched it again this morning, right?
I watched some of the post-debate coverage this morning on our favorite channels, MSNBC and CNN. Before
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal. And I watched about 25 minutes of the Trump interview, and I didn't really think there was much breaking news except for one small element, which I'm sure we'll discuss.
So I did the opposite. I watched the full Trump interview and I watched some bits and pieces of the debate. So I think we've got it all covered from all sides, even the MSNBC and CNN perspective. What type of other show will give you that? So
we may run out of time before we get to that. Let's not get the viewers' hopes up.
Well, Jim, you probably have the most to say about anybody. So I'm going to give you first whack at any aspect of this that you want to take about last night's events. Go for it, Jim.
All right. Well, you were on a text thread with Justin was too, and a couple other Heartlanders and one former Heartlander, kind of sharing our thoughts live as the debate was going on. I thought that was the worst debate in both moderation and performance that I've ever seen. It by miles. Wow. It was terrible. It was terrible. This is a GOP debate, right? And what did we do? We hit the issues that Democrat voters really care about, framed from a lefty Democrat perspective every single time. Abortion, climate change. There was even a question about how our cities have devolved into these dystopian, lawless hellholes. And it was framed in a way that says, well, Trump was president during that, so, he does share some responsibility for it. That is so ridiculous. Nearly every single policy that has created that has turned our cities into these hellholes. In fact, every policy that has made this country go downhill and be a complete mess, from inflation to crime, to our kids falling behind in school, to lockdowns and economic misery, to lies about how COVID came to be and how to treat it and how it spreads, to foreign policy, to the government conspiring with big tech to censor the Americans' free speech. All of that stuff is a manifestation of radical leftist policies and philosophies implemented by Democrats. And this debate featured questions framed from that point of view. And they had stupid gotcha questions like, raise your hand if you believe in X. Like, do you believe humans are driving climate change? Raise your hand. Okay, now it's time for a lightning round. I mean, are you serious? This is a debate about somebody on that stage, or Joe Biden, or maybe Gavin Newsom, is going to be the next president of the United States. That's just a fact. And we get a question like, do you think military service should be mandatory, Governor DeSantis? What the hell kind of a question is that? And then Chris Christie is asked about UFOs. It wasn't until the closing statements, where they each got 60 seconds where viewers got any idea, any hint into what the candidates stood for, what principles they might hold, why they're running for president, any of that stuff, the important stuff, the stuff voters actually need to know. Most people had never heard any of these people talk before. And instead, we have the moderators letting it get completely out of control after framing everything from the left. I know they can't put trapdoors underneath those lecterns, but they can have a mute button and they can just hit the mute button. Everybody shut up. Everybody shut up. We're going to reset and start over again. And I'm going to unmute one person and that person gets to talk. And that's it. I mean, that's what you needed to do to have anything useful come out of this, except for if you're a Democrat. Lots of useful stuff came out of that. If you're a Democrat or you're working for Team Biden was the big winner last night because they have turned this country and the economy into a complete disaster. And it was never brought up. It was never really addressed. It was just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, but what did Chris Christie have to say about UFOs? That's what's important. I want to know that.
Come on. I mean, and just one last thing. I mean, I think it's time. Look, the GOP, this is the fault of the Republican Party, the National Republican Party. They need to stop partnering with media, big legacy media organizations for these debates. That is an old model. And Fox News had to keep, we got to hurry up. We got to be done on time so we can go to Sean Hannity in the spin room at the top of the hour. Nobody cares. You could go on, Joe Rogan has mastered the art of a 3-hour conversation with one person. I think the American people would rather spend 90 minutes or 2 hours or 2.5 hours having a genuine examination and discussion about issues with people running for president. No, instead we got to hurry up because we got to go to Sean Hannity in the spin room, which is complete bullshit. Nobody cares about that stuff either. I mean, Chris watched it, but I didn't watch it. So the GOP needs to stop with this stuff by partnering even with friendly media like Fox News to run their debates. Bring in a panel of moderators that are from, I don't know, think tanks and are experts on issues like the economy or climate change or education. Bring in talk radio hosts like, any talk radio, any conservative talk radio host in the country. You can pick them out at random. They will have better questions than Brett Baer and Martha McCallum had. That's what needs to be done. This is supposed to be so that Republican voters are getting information for who they might want to choose to be their nominee. That should be the goal of a Republican debate. That goal was not even approached from 30,000 feet away. This was a complete joke. And you know what? It's only going to get worse from here. That's the fun part.
Justin, you at one point in your life told me that like primary seasons of an election are like your favorite time part of the year or something like that. Have you changed your mind on that?
I did. I really did. There used
take
to
a drink, Justin, and defy me.
There used to be a period of time when there was this a really famous talk radio show host in the New England area, conservative, and growing up, I always listened to him, and he used to describe it as primary season is like Super Bowl season for people who love politics. Like it's just the best time of year if you love politics. And I really did used to feel that way. And now it is just like, it's closer to being trapped as like a POW in a Vietnamese prison camp. Like it's closer to that, I think, than it is to being like the Super Bowl. It's awful. It's torture listening to this. I mean, you've got fat Chris Christie, who his sole purpose in life is just to make people angry and hate him, it seems, and get some sort of a, I don't know, like TV deal with MSNBC when this is all done with. You got Asa Hutchinson, whose ghostly figure is just haunting the stage from beginning to end. You've got like amateurs and people just yelling at each other, and whatever happened to the whole 11th commandment thing of like, thou shalt not attack another Republican. It's like all they did was attack each other pretty much the entire debate. There was very little team sort of orient, like we have to stop Joe Biden. Like that's the most important thing. Maybe I missed that part, but I don't remember anyone saying that. I will say this. I think the biggest, most important takeaway from the debate was Fox. I actually don't think that it had anything to do with the candidates. Really, in my opinion, none of them did particularly well. There were some really awkward moments. One in particular with Ron DeSantis, where they asked everyone to raise their hands if they were going to vote for Donald Trump. I think even if he is convicted, I think that was the question. Mm-hmm. And the candidates all started raising their hands, and it very clearly appeared that Ron DeSantis was not raising his hand. And then after an awkward period of time, when he realized a lot of other people were raising their hands, he decided to also raise his hand. And Chris Christie, even more awkwardly, raised his hand right around the same time as DeSantis, and then bizarrely brought it down and then shook his hand like, no, like this, like, no, I'm not, actually, never mind. And then they asked him, somebody sort of suggested, wait a minute, are you? And he goes, oh, no, I was shaking. I wasn't, but it very, very clearly raised his hand.
Yeah.
So it was,
I was ordering a hamburger. I wasn't.
Yeah, it was so weird.
He saw the hot dog guy in the stands, and he was trying to flag him over.
It was so bad, but I will say this. So Jim had this. We had this text thread going, and I watched the debate after everybody on the text thread. Right. Jim is texting, like live tweeting to this one tiny group of people every thought that he has about this debate, and as he's going through complaining about the Fox debate over and over and over again, all I'm doing is reading it, just rolling my eyes. Classic Jim, like drama queen Jim, just complaining about the media, all of this stuff. Then I later in the night, I'm watching the debate, and I'm saying to myself, damn it, Jim was right. This is awful. This is so bad. The biggest takeaway by far for me was, it seems, and this comes from a guy who's done lots of Fox appearances, writes for Fox. I have people at Fox who I love, but man, the first half of that debate, it really did feel like they were trying hard, Fox, to Martha McCallum and Brett Baier, to gift the Democrat Party talking points that benefits them. I don't understand that. It doesn't really make sense to me. But the abortion questions weren't just, what's your position on abortion? It just went on and on and on. Mm-hmm. They very clearly framed it as, this is going to kill us in the election, guys. So what are we going to do about it? And
let's get you on record talking about it.
And then at one point, they kept bringing up January 6th. That came up multiple times. They asked at one point for all of the candidates to basically publicly acknowledge that Mike Pence did the right thing by not going along with Trump's plan to have states, and it was just like, why are we hashing this out?
It turned into a deposition halfway through.
It was like, why are we talking about this? Like, this is crazy that they were obsessing over the January 6th stuff. That's what they want. And we're bringing it up on our own this network. This isn't ABC News doing this debate. This isn't a general election debate where you would expect that question. This is supposed to help Republican primary voters. They don't want to talk about Mike Pence and January 6th and national abortion bans. And it was like, this is so bad. It really was. It was egregious, intentionally so, it seemed almost.
And just to clarify for anyone that's confused, he's meaning January 6, 2021. We've had a few since
then. Not Chris, 2023. Correct.
Yes. Chris, pretty hard opinions about this from Jim and Justin. Do you concur, or do you have a different take on it?
No, I agree. The opening segment was all about the economy, and basically what we knew was going to happen happened. They all bashed Bidenomics, and they, put forward their talking points about how to get the economy going. And then the second segment, they go into abortion, and I was like, wait, this is kind of strange, because they did frame it in a very, in a way that was not going to be helpful for every single Republican candidate on that stage. And then they spent, 15, 20, 25 minutes, rehashing January 6th and the 2020 election. So it doesn't seem like there was much in terms of a robust policy discussion. I was waiting to hear about, their plans for immigration, their plans for the border crisis, their plans for education, and a whole bunch of other things. And those got very, very, short segments. And yeah, I just say overall, I was disappointed. It seemed like Jack Smith was, taking Brett Baer's position and asking questions that were much more about, things that these voters don't care at all about. This is supposed to be a time in which Republican primary voters in particular can get a really good view of what these people would do if they were to be elected president. And we just did not get that. And, I think Justin's right. Fox News, I am a loyal, watcher of it. However, I'd say since Tucker Carlson got let go, they've definitely gone in a different direction. They've become much more establishment. Some of the questions were just shocking, especially the climate change one. So yeah, I was pretty disappointed. It was not what I was expecting. It was not what, past debates have been. And it seemed like it was much more about entertainment and much more about, almost helping the Democrats with talking points for the 2024 general election with, putting these Republicans on record as saying things that are probably going to come back to bite them in a general election.
Yeah, so I didn't watch. I watched parts of the debate. When it came to 7:55, I tuned into the Trump interview, and it was pretty interesting. It was kind of Trump being Trump. I don't think there was anything to write home about. I mean, he fielded some interesting questions, like why didn't he go to the debate? Whether or not he thinks Epstein killed himself, whether or not he thinks the left is going to come and kill him. About elections being rigged and stolen. He did some foreign policy stuff as it related to China, Russia, and Ukraine. There was a heavy focus in the second half of it about Biden and the likelihood of running against Biden. And Trump had time to talk, right? He didn't have 45 seconds before he was cut off by Asa Hutchinson trying to score some points or something like that. So I think that it was very clearly a good move for Trump to do this and kind of avoid it. But at the same time, to me, it kind of made the debate pointless to watch. When I was so I watched that first, and then I was going to tune into the debate and watch some clips and all of that. And I just kept having this feeling that I was watching a preseason football game where the starters weren't there. And I'm just oh, is that guy fourth string receiver or something? Maybe he'll play a game or something. I don't know. But, it made so all of this that you're talking about, their positions on this and whether or not Pence scored some points on whoever, or Chris Christie took a knock at Vivek, or someone in the comments I saw, Vivek had a really good night. That's great. But we're talking about who's going to win at becoming a distant second to Trump. Because that's what it seems like to me. This is clearly Trump's game to win. And I wasn't saying that several months ago after the primaries, but Trump has clearly solidified his support from his base with this string of indictments and all of that. I looked at 538. Is that what it's called? 538's poll aggregator. And it has Trump sitting nicely at 52.1%, holding a 37-point lead over 15% DeSantis and a 40-plus point lead over the supposedly soaring 9.7% Ramaswamy. So it just seems like what is all this political theater even there for? I don't even know what the point of the debate is. Trump is running away with it. It's
Danny,
over.
One of the things was the audience seemed like they were very much pro-Trump because they were booing a lot of the uniparty, things coming out of the mouths of Haley and Christie and Asa Hutchinson. And when people like Vivek and Ron DeSantis did stand up and preach some of the Trump policies, the audience, exploded in applause. So it seems like the audience there was very pro-Trump, and that, these the 8 candidates, one of them had to make a, just a humongous, home run swing, and they just didn't. Nobody did.
Right. Justin or Jim, final thoughts on this? I want to get to our other topics at hand here.
It does seem like this is over and that there really is no chance of anyone beating Trump. And it does make you wonder why there's 15 other Republicans in the race. I will say that I will, point this out. If the goal is to be what I think was maybe the most bizarre thing that you've ever seen in a debate happened unsuspectingly. And that is that you've got all these people on the stage. They supposedly want to be the candidate, but the person who's in first place, who isn't on the stage, which is rare in and of itself in a debate, who's up 35, 40 points, 45 points, depends on the poll that you look at, really didn't get criticized all that much, except for from a couple of people who have no chance of actually winning. And it makes you wonder what they're thinking that they're doing. Like, does Nikki Haley think she's going to win the primary without attacking Trump and being down by 50 points? Because that doesn't seem likely to happen. And so it really does make me think that most of the people on the stage, other than Chris Christie and Asa Hutchinson, that just about everybody else on the stage is there because they're hoping to get something
position
out of it, like either a cabinet position or maybe the VP or. So to your point, yeah, I think they are all playing for second place. Like, I think that is actually what's going on here.
Vivek Ramaswamy's middle name is Prescott, so VP Ramaswamy just fits really nicely. Yeah, I just made that up. That's fake news. Gentlemen, was COVID ever brought up during the debate at all?
No.
No, that's interesting.
Not one mention.
DeSantis said something about how he didn't lock us.
Yeah.
And so, and he wouldn't let that happen again as president. And, he rightly criticized. I think there was, I guess, a gentle criticism of Trump for basically handing over the entire society to Deborah Birx and Anthony Fauci, and whatever they said goes. I mean, that's a very valid criticism. And in fact, it would have been a wonderful question to directly ask these guys how they would have handled it when COVID comes back or lockdowns. There should have been a really long discussion about that during the debate. Nah, who cares?
No,
let's ask about the UFOs.
Or climate change. The thing that really annoyed me about that climate change question, by the way, I know we got to wrap it up, but they didn't just ask the climate change question. They went to a video of a kid asking it on behalf of all kids in the world, apparently. Like, this is what my generation cares about. We care about climate change. What are you guys going to do about CO2 emissions or whatever it was? As if this is how this all works. It was just so annoying that it was clearly a prop. They use this kid as a prop to ask this question about climate change, which the average Republican voter does not care about at all, but whatever.
Yeah, well, the other climate change question that I thought kind of came out of left field, especially for Fox News, was when this happened.
How dare you?
I think she was the third person on the up there with Martha McCallum. I think she was actually using Martha McCallum as her hand puppet.
DeSantis, how dare you? All right, so debate. I don't know. I mean, there was a comment in the comment section over here. I forget by who. It already passed me, but it was a gentleman saying, "Well, Trump is getting a lot of points based on name recognition alone," something along these lines. And last night was the first time that people kind of saw alternative choices.
Oh my God!
Fine enough theory. But that would have to be reflected in the polls in the coming couple of days. If all of a sudden Trump drops by like 10 points or something and somebody else gets some other 10-point boost, then I'll believe that theory. But until then, I'm not buying it.
Well, that was about the only thing I actually heard him say during the Tucker interview before I fell asleep. Now, granted, I didn't. I was tired. It was late, but
passed out.
He said, "Why would I go to the debate? I'm up 50, 60%. One poll has me up 70%. Come on, there's no poll in the world. I don't think Kim Jong-un had polls having him up 70%. In North Korea, I doubt Donald Trump is up by 70% in any polls. But this is such a bizarre thing we're going through here. The presidential campaign season is now officially underway, and the leader among the Republicans is not interested in going to any debates. This is so weird. I mean, we have a primary vote, in 5 months? There's going to be probably a couple more debates until then, and Trump is literally not planning on participating.
Yeah, but Jim, not only that, but he's facing 4 indictments, and he's going to be, he's
going to jail.
Rooms. Well, he's not a debate at the very least, though. But guys, he's going to be stuck in courtrooms for the next several months. Is he going to have the ability to actually go out and campaign? I don't think so.
No, his campaign his entire campaign is going to be a picture of him in handcuffs, getting arraigned. Like, that's
being
the campaign.
showed by the left. being shown by the left,
right,
and being
and
shown
the
by
right.
him.
Yeah.
How crazy and unprecedented this is, because we're now in a place in time where the leading Republican nominee not only is probably going to skip the debates, but he's also not going to be able to campaign. And this is like, wow. Like, how is this going to play out? And not to mention that the Democratic nominee, for all we know, could drop out, in the next couple of months too.
Well, I thought you were going to say drop something else.
This could be the first campaign in history where the sitting president of the United States doesn't campaign because he's just physically not capable. He's just like locked in his own basement because he's too afraid to walk outside. And the opponent can't run because he's in prison. Right. So there's not going to be anybody running anywhere. No one's going to be campaigning. Everyone's just going to be at home.
Last thing I want to say about all
this is America. This is the United States of America, greatest democracy on the world.
So depressing.
If Trump is in prison, I will never more enthusiastically vote for somebody than Trump.
It's highly unlikely he would actually be in prison at that point. But I think he will just be so distracted with these legal, entanglements that it's going to make it very, very difficult for him to actually go out and campaign and do his rallies and, really make a real big campaign launch.
Yeah, we'd have to. It's really important that people keep in mind, they understand that if regardless of what happens if Trump gets convicted of any of these things, but especially the charges that are related to the overturning election stuff and all of that, that is going to go through so many additional levels of appeals and all this other stuff. Eventually, the Supreme Court will surely have to be involved in that, and that will be some big thing. And then and then on top of that, there's going to be this legal question hanging out there of, well, what if Trump, if this conviction stands, well, then can he even run because he's convicted of overturning the election, and that's of trying to overturn the election, and that's like there's a clause in the Constitution that says that you can't hold public office if you've tried to, if you've committed treason against the United States and all this other stuff, and does that qualify? And then that'll be hanging out in the air. Like, this thing is never going to end. This is going to be like the worst election season ever.
We'll be here to cover it. There is one comment from LS, says, I didn't know you guys were all alcoholics. No, we're just joking. Chris doesn't drink. I don't drink. Justin barely actually drinks. Jim, no comment. Let's move on.
Jim drinks enough for all four of us. So,
Johnny, just one last statement on the debate. I think that the craziness of this debate is just a preview of what's to come this campaign season. I think this is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen with the legal stuff, with Biden and his age, and just like I think this is going to be unprecedented. I think that the vote itself is probably going to be testy.
Don't
and
say it, Chris.
I know. Well, I mean, I'll bite my tongue there, but no, I really do think that this is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen.
You know how sometimes channels, Fox or CNN, will try to give a label, America Decides or something like that, like election 2020, America Decides, or some type of slogan attached to it. This year's should seriously just be called unprecedented, because you're absolutely right. It really is.
Unfortunately, their tagline, their slogan was democracy. And last time I checked, America is not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Big difference there.
Terrible choice, whoever said that.